Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Phoenix, Arizona, it's time for Phoenix Business Radio, spotlighting the city's best businesses and the people who lead them.
Hello and welcome to Phoenix Business RadioX, broadcasting live from the Tempe Max 6 studio. And we are excited to have a conversation with the amazing SciTech Institute. We've got new team members. We've got long-term team members. We have a CSO in the house and the CSO in the house.
That's right.
And sponsor. We've got it all. So with that, I would like to introduce you to Kelly Green and let her introduce herself to you. And then we'll take it from there.
Hello, everybody. So this is our SciTech podcast, and we're so excited to be in the studio with Karen. Thank you again for having us back and really coaching us on what our podcast can become. So what is SciTech Institute? We are connecting STEM in Arizona and beyond. So today we have a focus on women in engineering and women in STEM. But first, I wanted to kind of kick off some of the people that we have in the room. So from Michigan, we have our Director of Global Partnerships for the Chief Science Officers Program. Jake, you want to say hi?
Hi, everybody. This is Jake Lounsbury, and I am not in the room because I am in Michigan.
And nor are you a female.
No, I'm not. I'm the gray-haired old guy in the corner.
Are you? Wait a minute.
And then we also have a new team member, Katie. So she's going to be helping us this year, really connecting workforce opportunities for not only students in Arizona, but just the community for raising the awareness. Katie, you want to say hi?
Hi, everyone. Yes, Katie Reno here. Just joined the team as the new community outreach manager. Thrilled to be supporting and working with SciTech Institute.
And then we have CSO of the Year, Shelleys. You want to say hi?
Hi, everyone. I am CSO Shelleys, and I am a member of the International Leadership Council and then also the current CSO of the Year. So I'm really excited to be here to talk today about women in engineering, women in STEM.
And the coolest part is we also have Sarah here, who is actually Shelleys' mentor. So the nice bond that they've created and then the ability to plan and, hit some of the highlights for planning this podcast. It was really nice to have you back, Sarah. So you want to say hi?
Hi, thank you. I'm very glad to be here. Very glad to be with Shelleys and a strong advocate for youth and women in STEM as well. So this is a dream come true.
So a little bit about SciTech. We're really established as the conduit for collaboration among the STEM industry, but also academics, civic, nonprofit organizations to really align the assets and resources to motivate individuals to pursue STEM interests. So the nice part about having these different individuals on the podcast with us tonight is really to highlight what we're doing and where we'd like to go and what we could call out to the public that are listening. What can they do? How could they get involved? And how could they actually experience science and technology, not only here in Arizona, but in their communities? So currently we're amping up for our ribbon cutting ceremony at the Connect to STEM event on January 25th, downtown at the University of Arizona Medical Campus. We're so excited about all of the community members coming together with thousands of exhibitors, participants, community members to celebrate STEM here in Arizona. Throughout the next few months, we have January through April. We have hundreds of events, from community events to business industry events to school-led events, and then, of course, CSO events. So, Shelleys, talk a little bit about a CSO event on campus. What is the requirement for a CSO and their action plan?
Yeah, so Chief Science Officers, we do these things called action plans, which is basically how we impact the STEM environment at our school, how we impact our community, and just how we really educate our peers about STEM. And so these things, there's a wide range of action plans that CSOs can complete, from STEM clubs to STEM nights, STEM weeks, lots of different things. It's really up to the CSO, as long as their action plan educates their students, their fellow peers, and the members of their community, then it's a go. So some examples at my school, we actually held an astronomy night where we brought out some telescopes and some really, big telescopes that could see the moon really well. And so that really excited students. We also had an inflatable planetarium where students could look at constellations. There's definitely a wide range. We also did a tech workshop because we surveyed our students to see what they were most interested in. And we found that most of them really wanted us to plan an event that had to do with engineering and tech and things like that.
Oh, that's awesome. So the nice part about this year is we kind of went around our program approach a little bit differently. We actually partnered with Bare Essentials, and our outreach is a lot stronger through the distribution of the Bare Essentials newspaper, which is actually printed in Tucson. They do a Tucson print and a Phoenix print. And we are just so excited about learning about Boomer Bear, who's on the cover for 40 years. They have a search and find.
I remember Bare Essentials. I was a teacher. Absolutely.
And so the nice part about, really focusing on not only what Shelleys was talking about, the students doing some sort of awareness, outreach, action plan, but also the distribution network of really getting the teachers interested, helping the students find out what they're interested, and then now broadening that idea of what we're going to talk about today, which is women in STEM and engineering. So again, I know, Sarah, you and Shelleys were talking about a couple of different things that you wanted to highlight today. Do you have anything you want to start with?
Wow. Well, we only met at Starbucks for about 5 minutes before this, so we didn't get to make a cohesive outline, but we're both very passionate about women in STEM and have a lot of really influential ladies that have inspired us, and we'd love to talk about them.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll start it off actually with a little bit of a story time. So when I was 9 years old for Christmas, I actually got a Lego, and it was of 4 women who worked at NASA and who were very influential at NASA. And so ever since I received that Lego, I've always kind of looked up to those 4 women as my idols. And yeah, I've just been really inspired by them, especially because I want to work at NASA someday.
Oh, good thing we took you there, right? Twice for the CSO International Summit. It was so exciting.
It really was.
I'm jealous.
And so, yeah, the first woman that I want to talk about is actually Margaret Hamilton. And Sarah and I both actually have done a bit of research on her and really admire her work. Her work led to the development of a lot of onboard flight software for the Apollo moon missions. And yeah, she actually was the one who kind of created the term software engineering, because before her, engineering, working on software and things like that, it wasn't really considered an official engineering field. Only hardware engineering was.
Makes sense.
So she was a catalyst in that field, which is really, really cool.
Quick question. Would you ever go out to space? Sarah, would you?
Definitely.
All right, Shelleys, would you go to space?
Yeah, I think I would.
Really? Katie, what about you?
No way.
Me either. Karen?
I'm thinking not.
What about you, Jake? Would you go out to space? Wait, he's already in space. No,
You stole my line, Kelly. I was going to say, everybody says I'm already a space cadet, but yes, I think I would.
That's awesome.
Woo!
Sarah, do you want to touch a little bit on Margaret Hamilton?
Definitely. I'm looking at a picture of her because I have her printed out right next to another computer scientist, Katie Bowman. They were both MIT PhD students, and they both contributed incredible things to the field of STEM. So for Margaret Hamilton, she, I think, as you touched on, wrote the code that helped put a man on the moon. I have several pages of notes from her, and my favorite thing about her is that probably her confidence in herself, because working at NASA, where it wasn't a recognized field of software engineering, and she was the first woman to do the first human to do what she did, to be honest, gender irregardless. There was a notice from the Eagle, which was the lunar module approaching the moon, that said there was a hardware issue. But everybody trusted Margaret's code so much that they let Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin land on the moon, and it was a successful mission. And when it came back, they analyzed what the actual issue was, and it was something unrelated to definitely not her software, something related to the hardware triggering an issue that was false. So that confidence in herself and those men supporting her is just extremely powerful. And in comparison, the reason Katie Bowman is in this image too is because she was the first human again, to write a code to take the first image of a black hole. And this was just last year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. In April of 2019, another PhD at MIT, she was 29 years old at the time, a computer scientist. She and she's very humble because she worked with a team of 200 and she doesn't want to get all the credit, but
Right.
she is a woman that is not going to be lost in the history of what a great accomplishment this is. So she and her team stitched together a code that she had a huge contribution in, and it took a picture of the black hole at the heart of the Messier 87 galaxy, 55 million light years from Earth.
Karen, do you know where that is? Can we
Just
Google
around the
map
corner,
that?
right? Oh my gosh, I can have my.
I'm already mind blown right now.
Yeah. And just last year, that's fascinating to me.
Yep, just last year. And in comparison, Margaret's was in 1969.
Right.
I think the really nice moment there was that you said not just woman, but human.
Mm-hmm.
And I think acknowledging where we are currently and, even with Jake and other guests in the room, like this is a pretty female dominant conversation, but I think it's important that there were men at the table and that she was a valued contributor in 1969 and then also now, the 200 members of her team. I think, Shelleys, you and I can talk about with Jake that there are so many CSOs working on incredible action plans around our network that nobody's doing it alone. So really getting connected. And I think that's the exciting part about SciTech Institute is we're not trying to say we're doing everything. We want to connect you with the right people that are willing to help you achieve your goals. So I think, just as a member of a team and being a female, I think it's exciting to be in a place to make decisions, but to have a team supporting you. So, shout out to my teammates on the call. But yeah, great. Do you have any other key ladies you'd like to highlight?
Oh, so many.
So many, yeah.
So
we
many.
could go on for more than our 60-minute show.
It could be 60 hours, sure.
Live the sign whenever.
I like you a lot, Karen. We're moving in.
Who else? Yeah.
I think we both really wanted to touch on the all-women spacewalk that recently happened.
Yes.
And it was really, really powerful because there have been a lot of spacewalks in the past, specifically 220, but only 14 of those 220 spacewalks have included women. And this is the first spacewalk that is completely female, all women. So that's something that's really powerful. And the women on there, they're all on the spacewalk. They're all just really inspirational, especially because if you know anything about spacewalks, you know that they are very, very physically exhausting. And so just the fact that these women are brave enough and have the power to go out and do this incredible feat, literally walking in space, is really inspiring, I think, for a lot of young women all over the world.
Absolutely.
So I definitely want to touch on, so are you, Shelleys. So I think that we need to acknowledge the fact that Karen thought you were a college freshman, and we had to let her know that you are a freshman in high school, a third-year CSO, selected as CSO of the year last year as an 8th grader, doing tremendous things, training students all around the country, traveling with me, and helping them become inspired. So kudos to you, young lady, and thanks for being here tonight. So I appreciate you.
Can we go back? Was it the Lego, do you think, that really made, like, why become a CSO? What was the impetus for you wanting to be part of this and become a leader in this role?
Yeah, and I think, honestly, the program was introduced to me. One of my favorite teachers, who actually ended up being my advisor at my school, he came into my room one day and just had a flyer for this program. He didn't really know what it was, but he mentioned that it was a leadership program as well as a STEM program. And it was the leadership part that really caught my attention because I've always just been a leader in groups and things like that. And so just this opportunity that he presented to take leadership on a little bit of a higher and more impactful level sounded really interesting to me. And then I also, of course, was super interested and am super interested in STEM, specifically astrophysics and all of that. So just the those combined fields made it really sound like the perfect program for me to be involved in.
And can we give that teacher a shout out? His name is?
Dr. Taylor.
Dr. Taylor. And he was at Conley?
Conley Middle School,
Yeah.
yes.
So
in
little
Tempe.
known fact. I am also a Conley graduate. Back then it was a junior high, but I think it's a middle school now. Not that it matters, but it was a 2-year school. And then you and I both, well, you will be. I was making you a graduate already, but I'm a 1983 graduate from McClintock High School, which is where you're currently enrolled.
Yeah, I'm a freshman at McClintock
Yeah,
High
freshman.
School.
And Kelly is right. When we got introduced finally, because we've been talking about you for months now, all good, I thought you were already in college. So you certainly have a presence of a leader. I can't wait to see what you do moving into the future, right? Jake, you've had a chance to work with Shelleys a lot as well, haven't you?
I have. And, we say work with, but I work for Shelleys a lot of times.
Love it. What does that mean?
Well, so the CSOs, the nice thing about the program is it's really, really student-led. And Shelleys has been one of the key individuals, especially in the Arizona program, that has stepped up and really given what we said it was going to be meaning. Like, she stepped up, she took responsibility for the other students around her, inspiring the other students around her. And the nice thing is, in working with Shelleys, I started in the program as a teacher advisor. And I actually had a young lady that was in the program as well. And it was seeing videos of people like Shelleys that were out talking about what she was doing and how excited she was about the program that got Carissa excited in it too. So she really sets the example, and I just kind of follow the lead and let them take the reins.
I love that.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Katie, what does that mean to you in this new role of community outreach and, seeing a freshman really embracing that role? What are you excited about?
Well, it's incredibly inspiring. It's the kudos go out to. I can't wait to see what she does in the future and how much of an impact she makes on the world and the difference you make in your community and on the world. It's really, really exciting. I can't wait to share your story and help connect you with, as you mentioned earlier, not just the people who are willing to help her achieve her goals, but who are able and who want to. I just think you're going to do great things. It's very inspiring.
And that, I don't want to interrupt too much, but
please do.
That's what's really key. I watched Shelleys. We just went to Washington in October, and I watched Shelleys literally walk through the Capitol building like she owned it and have conversations with very large decision makers that led to them giving me phone calls because they wanted the program in their state. So it's really powerful when the students take the lead and show the adults what they can do. And Shelleys does an excellent job with that.
And I think the opportunities that this program will open up for her career and her aspirations are just going to be a tremendous benefit to her going forward. But vice versa, she's going to do a lot for...
Oh, she already has, right?
She
already has a to-do list just for next week.
Yes. I mean, for us as an organization, SciTech Institute, but also for the organization she's going to join as an employee someday.
Absolutely.
So I want to speak to for our listeners who may not be involved at all as a CSO or in the SciTech Institute or really anything in their school yet. And they're sitting here listening, whether they're 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade or in high school. You don't have to already be a leader to step into a leadership role. You've got to trust yourself and kind of put yourself out of your comfort zone to say, I want this and I want to figure out the way, and I'm going to trust that there's going to be people, adults and professionals that are going to rally around me. Would you agree that, because sometimes I think we make the mistake, male or female, we listen to a podcast like this and we think, oh, I could never be like Shelleys. She was born ready to go. Well, maybe she was, maybe she wasn't, but she put herself in a position to start saying, let me see what this is like. Let me give this a try. I don't want to put words into your mouth or into the way that you think. But what would you have to say, any of you, let's start with Shelleys, as a motivator for someone who might be listening and wouldn't be sure if this would be for them or not?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's really important that people know it definitely is possible. Because I've trained a lot of CSOs and I have seen that transition so many times from someone just being kind of, not as eager to lead, them becoming someone who is always at the front of the lines, is always super, super eager to lead. So I think that is a really amazing transformation. And I think it's really important that people do know that is possible. And the piece of advice that I always give to CSOs and anyone who asks for any advice is that to take any opportunity that you get, because that is really the way that you change and you grow is by going through lots of different experiences and just experiencing as many things as possible, especially if there are programs that can get you experience in what the workforce is really like, and just lots of different things. Anything that you're passionate about, I think experiencing it and just taking those opportunities to do those great things is a really important first step.
So the nice part about that is actually leading off how I met Shelleys and how I decided this young lady has piqued my interest. So as the director of student success, one of the things we require is what we call cabinet meetings. And we had held our cabinet meeting on Semiconductor, who's another sponsor of our organization and the CSO program. But she was there, and as she talks about taking opportunities, she wasn't just going through the tour. She was asking such precise questions about the wafers that they were creating and the specifics of what they do at On Semi. And I was standing in the back just blown away by what did she just ask? I don't know what she's talking about. And then the adult that was then tilting their head and saying, wow, they actually have intelligent questions and they're not just taking the tour. We find that, Jake can attest to it, that so many businesses, when they interact, all these STEM professionals, Sarah, you can talk to it next, is that when they start working with chief science officers or students that are just interested, right? They might not know exactly what they want, but if there is an adult that is actively engaged in a decent conversation with students, then they're going to really give you the satisfaction that, you know, our future's in good hands. These students are capable, but we need to circle back and let them ask the questions and give them the opportunities, like Shelleys mentioning. We do that a lot, not only with SciTech Institute, the SciTech Festival, like get out there, experience it, try it. You might not like everything, but if you get out there and say yes to more than one opportunity, you never know what you might find interesting. That's why I'm here, right? I was in the Army, and then I was teaching 6th grade math, and now look, you know, we're here in the studio. We said yes.
Yes, can keep saying yes. Inquiry is everything, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It is such a tremendous learning opportunity for everybody, and particularly for these young folks. It's just the whole program is all about learning. That's what this is all about. And so it's a great way for them to learn more about something that they might not have realized they were interested in, because it gives them exposure to something new. It connects them with new people in a different field, in a different area. And the networking opportunity alone is just another great learning opportunity for these young
What's
folks.
it like for you, Sarah, as a mentor? What were some of your thoughts?
Yes. Well, I was going to say, just hearing Shelleys talk is already so powerful, and it just like bubbles me up with happiness. And, you know, as you said, kind of like hope for our future. This is our future. You are our future, and I can tell from if everyone in the world was like you at your age, it would be a beautiful future. And it's just really powerful. And seeing young people with such bright minds and a desire to learn, a desire to help, desire to contribute, it reignites the passion in the same field as an adult. So maybe we had it when we were younger and we're just now going through the motions. We have our job, we're living life day to day. But then you see this and you're so excited to learn something new. You get a new experience. And I completely agree. Take every opportunity. And those opportunities should never get old. They're always something to learn from. They're always something to make you better, smarter. And it's really, I'm so grateful to be able to learn from you. That's what it is.
So I'd put out to all of our listeners, what's your Lego set that inspired you, right? I think that that's something that you just tapped into of, maybe you had an interest when you were, I don't know, what are you, 14, Shelleys? I was like, oh my gosh, we're so old. But, you think about it, what inspired you? And times have changed, absolutely. Access to technology and the information age and just the speed of things is completely different from when I was a kid. But I visited Highland High School today, and their library is more of like a collaborative workspace instead of just books and shelves. And it was really neat to see that change in students need a place to be safe and to learn. It's not necessarily about the circulation desk in the books on the shelf, but the fact that the students were there together and we had a STEM club meeting and talking about what are they interested in so that SciTech Institute could support them. But really getting back to that, what inspired you? And so Shelleys, talking about your Lego, that's inspiring because somebody is out there playing and imagining their future. And, if you look at some of the new toys out there for young girls, they have a different selling piece to them. There's more ethnicity. There's more job careers, in some of those like dolls out there. So it's changing. And do you think that some of the powerful women that you mentioned, I'm sure you have a couple more, but do you think they played a role? Because Shelleys, we just went to see that movie Underwater. I'm not a scary movie person, but we were asked to go screen this science movie, and I spilled my popcorn a few times. But Shelleys, tell me about your watching that as a young woman with a strong female lead. And granted, I didn't like the scary part, but to me, I don't know if I had that growing up. A movie that had the leading role as she was a technical engineer. I don't remember what her title was, but she was doing things that I think maybe were on the right path of really inspiring young women. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, for sure. And that was one of my main takeaways from the movie. And even growing up in the past decade, that's the first movie I've seen with a leading woman who did have a STEM career or a STEM role. And I think that was it was advertised as a horror movie, a thriller.
It was scary. I didn't like it.
But underneath that, I really liked the message of female empowerment and just the fact that there were two women in the movie who were really powerful and who were the leaders of everyone
surviving,
in the movie. And,
right?
And of surviving. And so I think just being able to see that, it makes me really happy. I have a younger sister, and the fact that she's going to be growing up seeing things like that, and the fact that that's out there for young women, I think it proves that there's a lot of progress. And going back to the toys thing that you said, even just going through Target, looking at the toy aisles, there are so many that are of women in STEM and these little science experiments, all of these.
Absolutely.
Whether it has to do with like slime or anything like that.
Oh, slime. Teacher's worst nightmare. So I want to bring it back to the inspiring moments. And maybe I had 3 older sisters, right? So being the younger sister, they pretty much said, you will and can do anything. It was kind of how I've lived my life. And thanks to those sisters. So shout out to them. But maybe thinking about your moment or the turning point of seeing yourself as an engineer, and what in your life, Sarah, kind of directed you to saying, I can. And it wasn't necessarily gender-based because, like I said, I was in the Army and there were certain number of jobs I wasn't allowed to do because I was a female. So some of those things are already kind of predetermined. But like you said, Shelleys, it gives me that hope that it doesn't matter. Everybody can, participate. So what are your thoughts?
First, I want to say you must be the best influence, best big sister, because that's
right?
awesome to hear.
Yes.
I didn't know you had a little sister. I bet you're following in your footsteps. She's going to be the next CSO of the year. But my moment, realizing that I could and wanted to participate in the world of STEM, actually, my list of women in STEM starts with my mom. So she's a registered nurse. She actually went to school after I was born. So I was raised with her studying and teaching me all of these Latin words for vomit and whatever else she was going through at the time, and really becoming desensitized to surgery and things like that. And I was so gung-ho about being a doctor or something in the medical field. Went to college. She sat with me as I filled out the courses I was interested in. She was really pushing the medical stuff. And of course, I'm interested in biology, chemistry, physics anyway. It's what I've always been interested in, math in particular. But I get into these classes, I realize I don't like blood. I think I talked about this last time.
You did.
Yeah, I did. I really don't
I don't like blood either.
I don't
or scary movies.
Yeah, we're
We've
touching
already
people.
discussed that.
So I wanted to kind of apply that science to something else, that passion to science for something else. It took a few years in before I actually was faced with adversity. And that's what made me really realize that I can and I will push through this. It's a male-dominated field. Honestly, the guys are pretty nice, but the girls are really competitive for whatever reason. That's why I really try to promote more women joining STEM, so it's just more normalized. But for whatever reason, I've always been kind of a girly girl. I was wearing a skirt, walking around. The girls were kind of mean to me. They said, "There's no way you're an engineer." At that point, I was applying to be an engineer, was like looking into those classes, and I was like, "Oh, really? Actually, well, I am. I'm going to be." And from that moment on, kept wearing my skirts and started taking my physics and quantum and thermodynamics and transport, and it was so empowering to be able to wear mascara and still take the classes with all the boys. So
you go, girl.
So
I still wear heels all the time.
Me too.
And I'm watching Shelleys listen to her mentor, and it's fun because she's just smiling and beaming, much like you were smiling and beaming as she was speaking.
It's the coolest relationship to see them grow together.
Yeah.
And I think that as I'm probably a generation and a half ahead of both of them. But to really know that you have that, I want you to know that that's going to stick for a long time. Mm-hmm. You will always remember Sarah, and you'll always remember Shelleys because of the turning points that you have in each other's lives. And I hope you invite her to high school graduation because she wants to go, even if she hasn't said it already. She wants to come to college, and, she wants to see you at NASA someday. If that's really where you go, like, she wants to go see you at work. So keep that in mind. What about you, Katie?
So I actually have a question for Sarah. So you mentioned that in your experience, it seems like women tend to be more competitive in engineering and in those fields, and at both the school level and professional level, I'm assuming. Do you think that's because of, or one of the factors and reasons behind that is because they typically tend to be male-dominated fields? So women have to perhaps try harder, assert themselves more to get noticed and to make a huge difference and a huge impact. What are your thoughts on that?
Exactly. You got it. A lot of these women are nice, of course, but being in this field where you're constantly faced with, are you supposed to be here kind of questions, you get thick skin.
Interesting.
And having thick skin can come off as aggressive or rude or something when someone else is trying to speak to you on something, or protective of your work or something like that. Whereas I've always been a very open, bubbly, like, let me share anything with you, read my notebook, take my notes, read my diary. But it was a little bit...
That might be a bit much.
No, I feel it. I'm open book, read all about it. But that openness is sometimes frowned upon when other people don't have it within themselves.
So do you find that you're one of the few supportive
Definitely
women in your field?
Well, no, I think there's many of us. It's just that moment was really inspiring because that one person that told me about the skirt was not. But there is one of my favorite quotes is there's two different types of ladies. There's the look at me ladies, and there's the come with me ladies. Mm-hmm. And I like to be a come with me lady.
Yes.
I like to
Epic.
be like
I like that.
Yeah, I like to be like here's where I am and here's how I got here. Let me help you too.
I think I'm going to write that on our board. I definitely want to be a come with me lady.
Perfect transition. I actually printed my favorite poem.
Yes.
It's very short.
Go for it.
Are you ready?
Go for it.
So it is a poem by Rupi Kaur, who is a beautiful poet, always standing for women empowerment, and I really love this poem. It's called Legacy. I stand on the sacrifices of 1 million women before me, thinking, what can I do to make this mountain taller so the women after me can see further?
Wow.
I love it. I want to share, too, I just looked this up. Joe Puz does his podcast here, and he's on his 3rd season. He's a project management consultant, and not too long ago, he had 3 women on with him. Elise Stevens, she's an advocate for women in project management. Linda Stanton, who is the director at WebPT Incorporated here locally. And Cornelia Homewood, who is a PM technical consultant with Colmay Group. The conversation was so dynamic. I highly encourage people to go listen to that about women in these male-dominated fields and industries, because the motivation that they share, like Sarah was just sharing, blew me away. And Joe, I've gotten to know because he's, again, been a host and a sponsor of one of our shows for going on 3 years now. And after we got done, he was teary-eyed. And Joe's never teary-eyed, at least not with me. But he has 2 sons and he has a daughter. And he said, I had no idea And I kept thinking about my daughter when you talked about how different it is for us women to stand up and lead and find our way into whatever it is that we want to do. You mentioned, putting on mascara and wearing a skirt. These women spoke much about the same thing. And even if mascara and wearing skirts isn't your thing, oftentimes we step into a boardroom or we step into a meeting where we're going to give a presentation. And if it's mainly men, we have to think about things that guys don't have to think about.
Absolutely.
And so it's really a well listened to podcast if you're interested. Again, it's episode 9 for Joe's season 2, and it's Project Management Office Hours with Elise Stevens, Linda Stanton, and Cornelia Homewood. And the companies represented are, again, WebPT Incorporated, actually run and operated by Heidi Janenga here, who's a hometown hero, and Colme Group as well. So we're well worth a listen as it relates a lot to the topic we're talking about.
I think we definitely put that link in our podcast post.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to get the 2 males. We have Jake and we have John, and maybe talking about working with women who are, maybe I come off aggressive myself, so Jake, be friendly. But the idea of working with women or encouraging women to be successful. So I know, John, you have 2 daughters, and then Jake, you have a daughter, but then just your experience in the workforce and what you'd like to share. Let's start with John.
So yeah, I have 2 daughters, both in STEM fields. One's a mechanical engineer working in the medical industry, and the other is a doctor or nurse practitioner. She just got her PhD. So very proud of what they've accomplished. And I've also, I've got 40 years in industry, both working in mostly high-tech industry space and various kind of products. And cross paths with lots of different people, lots of different skills and capabilities over the years. And I've always tried to just treat people based on what they're bringing to the table, not whether they're male or female. And more recently than in the past, I've come across some young female engineers that were just fantastic, had a real focus on the details. They really wanted to learn. And one in particular that I worked with, a young mechanical engineer, was in a innovation mentoring program I was doing at my last company. And she wanted to understand every little detail and every facet of what she was working on, even if it wasn't part of her job, so that she could understand what she was doing better and make the project better. And she really inspired me to spread her approach to these things to other people. Another one that got me was a robotics contest, the Lego robotics contest. Lego is the greatest thing that's ever happened. And I was judging a project at Lego robotics contest, and there were 5 7th grade girls who had designed an artificial kidney. And I was judging it. I could find absolutely nothing wrong with it. It was a fantastic design. I had never seen anything like it. I actually told them, hey, look me up in 10 years and come work for my company.
Yeah.
I think it's really became, getting to the point where it really shouldn't matter, doesn't matter in many places.
I think that's a great point, right? Karen and I are huge champions of that, and sitting on Treasures for Teachers board together, it's really exciting to be in those conversations. I think there's a gender shift, which is really nice to see Shelleys leading on that forefront, and the students of, not only our programs, but Jake, you can talk about, your experience too with our CSOs. We have over 60% are female, but then also the students that they're interacting with, because even Shelleys did a Girls in STEM outreach for what do they need and what are they hoping to learn. And so she did some work there. But what are your thoughts, Jake?
Well, and I speak as a father too, and being part of the program and looking at what CSO does. And I want to go kind of far back in the conversation to Karen talking about those students that maybe don't think they're leaders and joining the program, because I've seen students, especially young ladies, and I always talk about 2 of them, Nora from Kuwait and Carissa from Michigan, who were the wallflowers. Nora, at some point when I first met her, looked at me and said, just don't make me talk. Mm. And to watch these young ladies find their place and really not find it, take their place. Like they reach out and they grab it. And I think I have 3 daughters, And it's really inspiring to see that happen, because I remember Nora, when I first met her, saying that, and then we went and did their LTI in Kuwait a year ago, and she's running around and she's taking care of things, and she's fixing registration, and she's making sure students are in their class, and she's telling students that are frustrated to, relax, and this is what we're going to do. And she's really in front of everybody. And her mother approached me, and her mother's got tears in her eyes, and she looks at me and she says, I want to thank you, and I'll try not to cry myself here. My daughter is finally becoming a woman. She has her own opinions, and she's taking charge of her life.
I think confidence building is a really big deal. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's huge, especially for you to sit back and have that accolade and that acknowledgement, knowing, as you said just a moment ago, that you yourself have daughters.
And that's, I think the big thing for me is, and this is where I love working for Shelleys, is I watch young ladies like her inspire the other young ladies. Because as a dad, I can tell my daughters they can do anything they want, but I'm still the gray-haired guy sitting at the end of the table.
True.
And it doesn't have the same effect as someone like Shelleys walking up to them and saying, you can do this. Or someone like Kelly, who has had the life experience that she's had, walking up and saying, you can do this. Because I don't experience the things you talk about and the challenges you have. Like, I know they're there and they've been brought to my attention, but I didn't experience them. So to have someone be able to step up to them and say, I've been in your shoes, you can do it, is so powerful. And it's one of the things I love about being in this program, because I see the leaders grow, like Shelleys, like CSO Marissa, like CSO Carissa, my CSO that was in Michigan. She did not want to speak. And by the end of the year, her first year in the program, she was walking into the principal's office, handing him documents saying, this is what I need for the next field trip.
It's pretty exciting to see them take charge, for sure.
And as a former assistant principal, third grade teacher, and leader in our community business leader, it is critical that students learn to have an opportunity to speak and have a voice. It doesn't matter what you're interested in. It could be STEM, it could be the arts, it could be whatever, as an athlete. Leadership skills and communication skills, those people skills, will trump, in my opinion, any of the other skill sets that you've got. Because if you can't communicate, and I would love for John and the rest of you to pipe in, but if you are not able to communicate effectively, you're going to get passed up. You're going to miss an opportunity. And so I think part of not only the inquiry we talked about, but also being able to communicate and being interactive is critical. What are your guys' thoughts about that?
Real quick, I want to bring up the importance.
Then we'll let John go. Yeah, absolutely. Please.
I feel like the importance of friendship and just keeping up that communication in the CSO program that I've noticed, because I was actually CSO Noura from Kuwait came to our Leadership Training Institute at ASU a couple of years ago, and we actually became friends, and we are still friends over social media platforms and things like that. And I think just having those strong female friends that are there to support you and that you just feel very kindred with. I think that's a really important part of just having that confidence again and being able to take charge, because having them there to support you, it's just a very powerful thing.
Yep, beautifully said.
And as John mentioned, like, we don't want to exclude the men, right? Like, the idea is, doesn't matter who you are at the table. What I've learned in working with SciTech Institute is that I have found other people that are like me in working through these programs and working through, the experiences that we've either tried to create or reinvent or just visit and experience ourselves as our own team. And so as watching middle schoolers really hash it out when I taught sixth grade math of like, I don't know what I like, and I don't know if I like the person sitting next to me, and tomorrow, I do like them. I want to be friends. And that personality or that challenge that, most middle schoolers go through just in life, I think what you're talking about is finding somebody who likes what you like. And it doesn't have to be 30 friends, but having a champion who's going to push you to be successful and care about you just in general, which is the nice part about your relationship with Sarah, right? She's a young adult that is championing you as a STEM professional. And then you have me, right? An older adult that you're such a young professional. I love it. But we're all rooting for you. And then to know that you have Nora over there saying, well, Kelly told us to do an action plan. What did you do? And to be able to balance that out is a really, really strong point. But there's also other male students that you've interacted with and helped grow and learn together. So really finding where you fit is a challenge for anybody, even at my age, right? Like where do we fit? So I think it's important that we kind of circle back. Oh, sorry, my alarm here. Thinking about some of our key, I would love Sarah and Shelleys to talk about a few more of the people on their list. We'll add some details in our podcast wrap up and include it on our website links. But I also wanted to mention that the top 5 winners in the National STEM competition this year were girls. And so people are sitting up and paying attention, but I also know that there's more finalists that are stepping up and feeling more confident about it. So if we can build on that, but not just girls. Like I really want us to really, Katie's working on community outreach. We're trying to provide these opportunities from 0 to 103 of get out there and experience what you like. Maybe you're 40 and you want to change, your direction in life. Maybe you're 23 and you're trying to decide what's next. Right? There's opportunity for everybody to connect and get excited and experience these things in the world. All right. So maybe we'll run around the table for some final thoughts and we'll wrap it up and just celebrate a few more items about what we're doing in SciTech. If you two want to hit the highlights of your top ladies in STEM.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about Mildred? How do you pronounce it? Dresselhaus?
Yes. Mildred Dresselhaus, the queen of carbon science, pretty much the inventor of material science and engineering, which is my major, my degree, my passion, and my career field. And also the name of my cat. I said, Shelleys has seen a picture of my sweet kitty. I call her Millie.
It will be posted on the link.
I have the best picture, too. It's my computer background also at my engineering office. So... yeah, I call her Millie, and then when I'm mad at her, she's Mildred. But either way, Mildred Dresselhaus is an extremely admirable woman. I have 3 pages of notes on her. I will try to make it short. Well, wow. I don't know where to start. She received her PhD from MIT in 1958 with the thesis on superconductivity when that was not even a concept. It was pretty incredible that she was able to study the superconductor sciences, Meissner effect, and have such a foundational understanding, a fundamental understanding of the electronic structure of semi-metals and superconductors and everything in this material science world, that she became focused in, her research started in graphite. Everyone knows what graphite is, right? It's what you write with a pencil. But graphite consists of many, many monolayers, which means layers that are 1 atom thick.
I'm really glad she explained that.
Yeah. I have definitions too, so I'm going to try to make it, very, very clear. But when you take those graphene layers and then you roll them up, they become carbon nanotubes. And carbon nanotubes are found in everything. Your phone, your tires, really anything. They're
cool.
Yeah, they're really cool stuff too. If you look that stuff up, it's really teeny tiny. They're nanomaterials, and just the prefix nano is 10 to the negative 9, right? So like
I like she looked at the 3rd grade teacher,
No,
right?
All listening. I don't know if that's right or not,
I
but
don't want
yes.
anyone to correct me, but I'm pretty sure a nanometer is a meter times 10 to the negative 9, whereas a micron is 10 times to the negative 6. And in like the field of material science, you speak in microns, micrometers, and so a nanometer is just hard to wrap your mind around. But this is the field of studies that in 1958 was pioneered by Mildred Dresselhaus. Then she moved into magneto-optics. Then she moved into circularly polarized light, which was a 1968 experiment with a neon laser, a helium neon laser. And that got her into Raman spectroscopy, which is a light scattering technique where photons interact with the sample, producing scattered radiation of different wavelengths. And that is now a microscopy tool that is used in all scientists labs to better understand the materials, the microstructure, and the interactions of those molecules.
I can see why she's your favorite.
She's so cool. I now have 2 pages of awards for her. I'm not going to list them all, but it was just really fascinating to see. In 2012, she was awarded the Kavli Prize. Kavli, I'm not positive how it's pronounced, in nanoscience. And the quote here is that she had the prize was given to her for pioneering contributions for the study of phonons, electron-phonon interactions, and thermal transport in nanostructures. She was also awarded for leadership in condensed matter physics, in energy and science policy, in service to the scientific community, just like Shelleys, and in honoring women in science, just like Shelleys. So many other awards: Medal of Freedom, Medal of Science, IEEE Medal of Honor, and I could go on.
I also noticed in my research on her that she was the first woman to win the National Medal of Science and Engineering. So I thought that was something that was really inspiring.
So I think we ought to challenge Shelleys to reach out to her and see if she'd want to do a show with us.
That'd be cool.
I'm very sincere.
I am too.
And like we have Jake on through Skype, if she can't come to Arizona do it with us, then we can bring her on via Skype. Well, wouldn't that be incredible?
She's already looking up her email.
Yeah.
But
and she's already halfway through the email.
If she didn't pass away a few years ago, I think that she would love to be on this show.
I missed that. Did you already say that?
I didn't, but she had her PhD in 1958.
So when you said 2012, I was trying to picture how old she might be. Oh, gosh, darn it.
It's a great picture. She's a little old lady getting a beautiful award from Barack Obama. It's 2012.
Incredible.
That's awesome.
And just I think maybe a year or two after.
Oh, well.
That's a bummer.
What a roll.
That was a great idea.
Thought.
Anybody else in nano?
There's so many more.
Well, I was just going to say, so the idea for me just popped in, right? That's what this forum really ought to be. This is not just a conversation within the SciTech Institute and CSO program. I mean, yes, that's important to highlight all the movers and shakers and the leaders and the influencers. And keep in mind that as you grow this podcast platform, you want to look to see who can come in and who can we have conversations with that don't know who we are yet, but we're learning and watching them and we're influenced by them. And then they get to know who you are.
Absolutely. That's the whole part of our wrap up at the end here of talking about, our call to action. The SciTech Institute is all about making those connections. The Arizona SciTech Festival is the celebration of STEM across the state of Arizona, all, January through April. We're looking for, additional connections. Who wants to step up, get involved, volunteer, check out a new location, experience STEM with our street team members, engage with our CSOs, give a presentation on workforce development, be on a STEM panel, get on the radio show with us here. There are so many ways that we'd like to connect. And so our call to action right now, if you're listening and you want to talk to us, shoot me an email, right? Or go on our website and contact us. We are ready to talk to additional individuals.
What is the website and what is your email?
The website is I don't think you have to say that anymore, do you?
No, you don't.
3 W's.
Just nix the W's and start after the dots.
It's scitechinstitute.org. And we're so excited. So I think this was an excellent wealth of information. I'm excited to learn more about Mildred. But what we'll do is we'll post the list of the individuals that they researched. I know Shelleys put a lot of work into that too, to let other people do a little bit more research on their own. But I'd like you to kind of have your closing thoughts. So let's circle around. Sorry, Jake, you're the farthest, so you have to go first. But just kind of your wrap-up thoughts about this month and what you're excited about until next time.
Well, to the podcast, I'd like to say the one thing I hope the takeaway for a lot of people is taking ownership. The one thing that listening to Shelleys and everybody else talk is, if you really want to be involved in everything else, take ownership of what's going on around you. And SciTech and Chief Science Officers really motivates people to do that. So please participate. And it's just been a great thing to be on the podcast, and I'm excited to have been a part.
Excellent. Thanks again for being here. John, lasting thoughts and something to move us into the next opportunity to come together.
So going back to something you said earlier about communication, all the years I've been in industry, the single best class I ever took being in the high-tech industries was a negotiating class.
Nice.
It teaches you how to think about what you want out of any interaction, what the people you're interacting with want out of the same interaction, plan for it, go into it with your words prepared, with your thoughts prepared, with an action plan for it. And it's been the most productive thing for me, and I've recommended it to pretty much everybody I've mentored or all the young engineers and students I've been involved with over the years.
Great advice. Absolutely. I think there's one of those master classes that they have on social media now with someone who's been a great negotiator. And I was thinking about taking it myself. I think
we should do it together.
I would love that.
Let's do
Never
it.
Considered that.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I'm putting it on your calendar. All right, Shelleys, CSO of the Year, International Leadership Council member, superstar. What are your final thoughts?
I think I just wanted to wrap up this list of inspirational women that I had. A common theme that was found among all of them is that they were an advocate for women in STEM, and they were interested in truly a vital piece to getting people into the STEM field, specifically women, but everyone. And I think that's one of the main things that was inspirational about them, the fact that they were putting that work back into the community and reaching out. And so a little bit of a call to action of my own. If you have the opportunity to do that ever, please take it, because just contacting one young woman could really change that person's life. And that's kind of my lasting message. If you take anything away from this podcast, at least from what I've shared, I hope it is that. And yeah, thank you all for tuning in. I really appreciate being included on this project, and I think that it's a very powerful thing. So.
Excellent. What about you, Katie?
And I want to piggyback just on the last two folks' thoughts there and encourage everybody to get involved. Get involved in any way you possibly can, whether it's a young person interested in maybe joining the CSO program or thinking about getting into a STEM program or pursuing interests in an area he or she would not have considered before. Just to tie a thought we had earlier back into this, the CSO program is, as I mentioned, a learning opportunity, as well as everything that we do to connect folks and professionals and community members and students. But it's a learning opportunity for young folks to learn how to be leaders. As we were talking about, do you have to have those leadership tendencies to even get interested or get involved in the CSO program? No, it's an opportunity for them to learn to be leaders. But I also encourage community members and professionals in the STEM fields to mentor, take a leadership role and mentor the younger generation. They are our future. Provide any information you can, whether it's your career path, how did you get where you are, or more information about the STEM fields. Or
maybe their inspiring Lego moment.
Exactly. Absolutely. So
perfect.
Just get involved, or just somebody who wants to volunteer, help out with one of our events, contact SciTech Institute and ask how you can get further involved.
Perfect. All right. So to close us off for the STEM professional, what are your final thoughts, Sarah?
I agree with all of the above. Get involved, be open to sharing with others, sharing your success and how you got there. I think that that's really key. If you already have found yourself in a comfortable position, then maybe try to bring someone up there too. And if you haven't, then have the confidence that you already are there, because that will get you there faster than anything else. If you are nervous, if you are questioning your ability to do it, you're going to back down. But if you are terrified, but you do it anyway with the confidence that you need, then you can accomplish anything. And my final remark is that all of you ladies really inspire me. This has been a really powerful conversation. I'm honored to be here. I'm super grateful to be in the same room as this angel, Shelley, and I'm so glad she could be on our podcast, and I look forward to the next time we can all get together.
Perfect. And so to Karen, again, I tell you all the time, thank you. It's been truly a pleasure to collaborate with you and really kicking this podcast off. So to everybody out there, like they mentioned, visit scitechinstitute.org for more information. Reach out. We will help get you connected.